Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is the edition that's going to have privacy and security and data leaks and AI in business and SillyVille. That's right. Now, we only have a couple articles in each section, but we did have a lot of good and fascinating stuff today that we wanted to have a look at. So, of course, you can catch the show live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, see what's going on in between everything. And with that, we are going to go ahead and dive right on into the news. So first up, 23andMe will retain your genetic information even if you decide to delete your account. Isn't that beautiful? This is one of the problems with giving any form of data out to these companies is you cannot ever get it back. And so it's better to be a lot more stingy with it on the front end than sit there and go, well, I had an epiphany about privacy and I want you to remove my data. They're like, nope, no, bro, ain't removing it. And there have been a lot of issues with 23andMe. They had data leaks. They had situations where they were handing your genetic data over to police and law enforcement without authorization. They had, right now they're in the midst of an embroiled situation where their entire board, except their CEO, is gone. And a lot of people are really concerned about the state of the company. And that one, the CEO is trying to work on a way to bring the company private. Of course, the CEO of the company is Ann Wojcicki. And if that name sounds familiar, yes, that is Susan Wojcicki's sister. And or sister or sister-in-law. I think it's sister-in-law. But the interesting connection between 23andMe, Wojcicki's, and Google is enough to make me never want to hand any of my data to that company. They're all like all their C-suite guys all intermingle with each other, 23andMe and Google. So in midst of a lot of people having lack of confidence in the company, a number of people are like, yeah, I just kind of want to leave all this behind. The problem is, it turns out it's not as easy for your data to be removed. You can delete your data from 23andMe, but 23andMe says it will retain some of the data, including your genetic information, to comply with the company's legal obligations, according to its privacy policy. Now, I did not actually see any legal obligations that they had to retain your DNA. When you sent them the sample, you had the option to destroy the sample or retain it for any future studies, analysis, whatever else. They say that if you seek to delete your data and you did retain that sample, they will delete the sample, but all the genetic information they're keeping in place. They cite the Federal Clinical Laboratory Amendments of 1988, which is dictated over here from the CDC. And effectively, I went through all this. I looked through all the law. I didn't read every bit of it word for word, but every single thing I can see in the law, nothing has to do with data of people involved. Nothing has to do. I think they are making crap up. Now, I could be wrong, but I think they're making crap up. Everything this law deals with is maintaining a credibility with the company. So it talks about getting approval to run a lab like this. It talks about regular audits, audit reports, credentials, and things like that. There is nothing in there that says anything any way, shape, or form about retaining the data that you've already collected. In fact, it seems to me that might violate other laws to say, no, we're keeping all that kind of stuff. When I said, I have lost trust in you as a company, I want it deleted. Now, they cite California Business and Professions Code, Section 1265. What about the California privacy laws? It says, if I want to delete my data, you must completely delete my data. That one seems to be missing from this privacy policy. And something about the American College of Pathologists accreditation requirements. So I did not dig deeper into the College of American Pathologists to see if they required people to retain data that was collected as part of data collection processes. So I literally think they're just throwing all that in there to sound official. And if anybody else out there wants to read through that and let me know, I did the best due diligence I could on short notice to dig through this. I got news for you. Nothing in any of those mandates suggested that they have an obligation to hold on to DNA samples after you request to delete them. However, if you look a little bit further down, it talks about it does talk about data, retaining data for police investigations and government things and stuff like that. So, maybe that has more to do with it. We don't know of any other potentially connected companies like Google who work regularly with law enforcement. So I don't know. You guys tell me what y'all think about that. But it sounds to me like they're making up a bunch of hokey. You can go in there and delete the data. So of course, it says permanently delete data. Of course, it doesn't permanently delete. It doesn't even permanently delete your email address or your contact information or anything like that. So you should then receive an email from them detailing the account deletion policy, requesting you confirm the request. Once you confirm you'd like your data to be deleted, the deletion will begin automatically and you'll immediately lose access to your account. So just like Facebook, they just turn off your ability to access the account, but everything is still in there in the background. So let me see if I can find the spot about the email stuff. It was in here somewhere. Let's see. It's not just asking you to delete your data, but it says it will retain some of your information, including genetic information, to comply with the legal policies. 23andMe will also retain limited information related to your account data and deletion request, including but not limited your email address, your account deletion request, identifier, communications related to inquiries or complaints, and legal agreements for a limited period of time as required by law, contractual obligations, and or as necessary for the establishment to exercise and or defense of legal claims and for audit and compliance purposes. In other words, we ain't deleting crap. We're just not letting you log into your account anymore. So there you go. If you actually fell for the scam of sending your DNA into 23andMe, I told you so a long time ago, yo. All right. Of course, speaking of crazy stuff, Sam Altman's running around, and of course, Worldcoin has had a tattered name already, so now they are rebranding themselves as World as an organization, but then going through and creating a new project under the World overarching aim, and that one, what is the name of that thing? Hold on, there's an update in the bottom of the article. The startup is called Tools for Humanity. So Worldcoin, the crazy company that was scanning everybody's IDs, that became World, but World is now some separate entity, and under the umbrella of World is a now startup called Tools for Humanity. Go figure that one out. Follow the chart. Sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. So, of course, the whole purpose of this is they want to go around the world and scan everybody's irises because Sam Altman, of course, the co-founder of OpenAI, who unleashed ChatGPT and all of this AI nonsense, which has effectively been used to appropriately scam and phish us for all eternity, and then create bad images, bad writing, bad documents, fill up legal court cases, completely destroy the internet, and fill up every corner of Amazon with AI-generated nonsense, not to mention the AI-generated YouTube channels. Effectively, Sam Altman helped to open this crap up on the world that effectively is going to be the thing that descends our world into nonsense. Now he says, well, now that AI is in the world, we have to prove who you're talking to on the internet is actually a human being. So now we're going to scan everybody's irises and make to prove your personhood. So this is a guy that we should remove him from his assets and throw him in a jail cell for unleashing the worst of the world upon us. Not be giving him copies of our retinal scans so we can prove our personhood. And remember, the whole purpose of this is to say, prove you are not an AI bot on the internet. However, when you get down here, it sounds very interesting, but this is what it says. The World Project is predicated on the idea that advanced AI systems like the ones Altman's OI is trying to build will one day make it impossible to tell whether you're talking to a human online. Its solution is human verification services based around blockchain. The startup promises to making the benefits of AI accessible to everyone, potentially by redistributing the wealth generated by AI to people through its Worldcoins. I got news for you guys. I am reading right now Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google. I'm reading his book called The New Digital Age, which was published about a decade ago. And a lot of the things they mention in there actually came true. But the idealism in it that suggests we're going to solve all the world's problems is completely flipped on its head. They literally have things in there like, you're going to be able to take a picture of this and privately hand that picture over to your doctor for a medical diagnosis. How do we know that's happening in our world? We know that's happening in our world. And then the guy gets a 6-month police case and CPS investigation because Google spied on the photos in between. But what's interesting here is you read down through a little bit further. I might have to search for this one here. Let me search for this one here because there you go. Okay, so the new orb is mass-produced, has fewer parts, operates 3 times faster. Tools for humanity. Look at this. Remember, the process of this is to verify your personhood credentials so that you can identify if somebody on the internet is AI. That is their basis. Tools for Humanity says people will soon be able to verify themselves at coffee shops and announce a partnership with the #1 delivery service in Latin America, Rappi, so people can schedule a home or verification. I got news for you. If I am standing in front of you ordering a Frappuccino at a coffee shop, I am not an AI bot. This has nothing to do with verifying who you are on the internet. This is a way to catalog everybody into a biometric system that is going to be abused by the world. In fact, what is so fascinating in that book, The New Digital Age, in chapter, actually I think it's the introduction, he says the authoritarian governments are going to use this technology to suppress speech, but the democratic governments are going to have to open up the table to more thoughts and viewpoints than they thought. Now, it turns out that either every government is authoritarian or every government just wants to silence those they don't like. Okay, so this is like, if you have not given World your iris scan, resist. This is a technology that's going to be the mark of the beast. I realize I got people listening who do not believe in the Bible and the mark of the beast. Even if you don't believe in that, don't do this. Somehow, you went from verifying you're a real person on the internet to verifying yourselves at a coffee shop, right in real life. I would like a Frappuccino, please. Please scan your iris here so I can verify you're a human being. Well, if I'm an AI, I am not drinking a Frappuccino. My God, people are nuts. And they're just feeding you this BS after unleashing the thing on the world that is actively destroying us. Now he says, I got a solution for the thing I unleashed on the world. Throw this guy in a jail cell. Exile him to Patmos. My Lord. But here we are in our world. Oh, my. I'm going to scan my thing in here so I can verify I'm a human being on the internet. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's have a look at some security news next, shall we? And first up in security, there is a new, I'm talking about AI, there's a new AI-based scam targeting Gmail users. This is a good one, right? And so they say they have your death certificate, and then they give you a verification attempt. So what ends up happening, this has happened to a couple different researchers. So you have your Google account, and you get a verification. Hold on, let me allow this guy here. So you get a verification email basically saying somebody's trying to get into your account. And then about half hour, 45 minutes later, you're going to get a call. And the call is claiming to be from Google. And then they're going to send you this account recovery to your email, which looks valid, but if you actually spend the time to look at it, you see it's not actually valid. But then it'll give you the device, it'll give you the name of the support person you're talking to, and it'll be like, yes, it's me, or no, don't allow. Well, if you hit the yes, it's me, it is taking you to a phishing page, which is going to break into your Google account, and then you're going to let the hackers in. Now, he said that the guy that called him is a very convincing American voice. Now, for me, I know that that means I'm not talking to Google, because I have actually talked on the phone to Google several times. I have clients. We've managed. I manage some pretty big business for some people, and on the main tech point. And so when something goes goofy with one of these tech companies, I actually have to figure out what's going on. And, we've actually gotten Facebook on the phone in less than a day. In fact, actually less than an hour. It's quite shocking. We were talked to Google a couple times on the phone as well. Every single time I've ever talked to Google, it is Abu Jafar over here. I think he's also running a job at the Quickie Mart. It is insane. It is insane. All right. If you contact a live human being at Google, you get a live human being at Google. It is not an American. That's what the guy says. It's this very convincing American voice. And it's all AI. It's AI talking to you. It's an AI script reading to you over the phone. If you ask for an email, it gives you this very convincing email. It says, hello, user, has a case number. It has the actual person you're talking to. It has your name, the verification of the contact information, the account team. It looks very official. All right. And so it looks like it comes from a Google domain. It has the case number. It has everything. And so Sam reviews the email, and the caller repeatedly says hello. He says from the pronunciation and the spacing, Sam realizes it's an AI voice, and he hangs up. So this is a guy that is a security researcher is almost duped by this thing. AI voice, AI plan. They're, targeting him with a legitimate account, presumably because the account was involved in a data leak somewhere, because data is leaking all over the place. So here's a couple of factors, take-home messages. Number one, Google, well, I can't even say this confidently. I would say Google won't call you, but they actually have upsellers at Google, believe it or not. If you have an AdWords account, or is it AdWords, or is it AdWords account where you're buying ads. My secondary cell phone was the point number we used to reach out to Google at one point in time. So I get a call one day, and it's Abu Jafar from Google. And I'm like, we're not interested in upscaling our ads anymore. Take me off the list. Fine, whatever. An hour later, he calls back. Doesn't even realize it's the same number. I'm like, dude, I just talked to you an hour ago, and I told you to take this number off the list. I don't have that cell phone anymore, so that's the case. So, outside of you spending money with Google and buying ads with them, they're not going to randomly call you. They will never randomly call you because of a security incident. Google will not ever call you because of a security incident. And if you ever get a two-factor authentication thing and you are not the one actively trying to log into account, don't hit it. Okay. Completely fine to hit that if you're actively trying to log in. Even that be somewhat suspect. That's why I use hardware keys. Okay. Only thing I have protecting my accounts, multiple hardware keys. I do this, try to log in, enter your hardware key, enter hardware key. Good. I'm good. Okay. These guys are not going to get me, although I might play with the AI. I might violate my terms of not talking to computers and just mess with the AI, but whatever that happens to be worth. All right. Next up in security, WordPress Jetpack plugin receives a critical flaw. I don't usually cover the WordPress breaches because they happen every day. But this one I thought was significant because the Jetpack plugin is one that WordPress actively tries to install on everybody's installation. In many instances, you have to fight to not get this stupid thing installed. What it does is it does all sorts of, well, first it does a whole bunch of data analytics and data collection and perpetually sends a boatload of information about you and your site and everything about you up to WordPress so that psychopathic Matt Mullenweg, the crazy dude, has access to your data. And not only does it do that, it does a lot of other little things. It gives you a lot of the features that you have on WordPress.com, which I think are more bugs than features, but that's the case. Well, this thing is used on 27 million WordPress websites and had an active exploit from version 3.9.9. It's currently on version 13. So 10 full versions, who knows how long that is. Major updates. Now, the good news about this one is if this is on a WordPress website, this is the type of update that will automatically update itself. They do minor, major security issues, like minor updates as in we're just fixing one security bug. One of those factors will get upgraded automatically. And so this is something that will be upgraded automatically on most websites, even if you don't have automatic updates installed, which, is a scary thing in and of itself that they can actually do things like that. But I did want to mention that just in case you see that or are aware of that. Mostly just to say, don't use the Jetpack plugin unless you 100% absolutely need it for some feature. And even then, think twice about it there. All right, and of course, the big news in this week is that Google has started to automatically disable uBlock Origin in Chrome. Now, it is not happening to everybody all at once. That would actually cause like a mass panic, right? If all of a sudden everybody wakes up one day and Chrome has automatically disabled uBlock Origin, the whole world would be up in arms and Google would have to deal with a nightmare. No, they're slowly rolling it out. So if you have not already had uBlock Origin, the original uBlock Origin disabled on your Chrome instance, expect it in the next couple of weeks. Of course, this is the phasing out of Manifest v2 for Manifest v3. The original uBlock Origin does not qualify for Manifest v3. They do have a uBlock Origin Lite plugin. It just isn't as good. It doesn't have as many block rules, and you can't do custom block scripts in it, at least not as many as you could before. So you are going to lose the functionality of that particular plugin. There are other ones like AdBlock Plus is still valid. uBlock Origin Lite is still valid. But not only this, but other Manifest v2 plugins are going to start turning themselves off. In many instances, as of right now, you can still turn them back on, but you get a lot of warnings. They do say here that although Google plans to get rid of all extensions using Manifest v3 by 2025, Vivaldi, Brave, and Mozilla have offered support for longer. They say a bit longer. Mozilla has no plans to depreciate v2 anytime soon. So if you're tied to uBlock Origin using Firefox, LibreWolf, Malvad browser, those will still work. Vivaldi and Brave has said they are going to maintain Manifest v2 for as long as feasibly possible. So they're not as likely to get rid of it by June 2025. Hopefully they don't. But that is really right around the corner from us right now. That's only like 8 months away. And so eventually those will completely stop working altogether. Vivaldi and Brave will continue to work, though, for the period of time. Of course, we'll also mention that the Brave's built-in browser does not rely on Manifest at all. So that is not impacted at all. I personally found it's not as useful as uBlock, but that's my thought and my take on it. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we want to highlight A2 Hosting. And looking at A2 Hosting, if you need a website, you can go ahead and use my affiliate link there, tlm.li/A2H. So I'll get you good stuff. I will mention this, with all Matt Mullenweg at WordPress going crazy, they are trying to get WordPress hosting as a registered term as well. So you might see this type of option disappear. I don't recommend using WordPress hosting anyway. Just use a basic shared hosting plan, install WordPress the manual way. You don't gain a lot of benefit from this one, although it does cost a whole lot more. But if that's where you want to go with it. It's still going to be good either way. But if you do need a website, consider looking at A2 Hosting, tlm.li/A2H. And with that, we only have one single data leak article, so let's go ahead and discuss that one now. Medical data of almost 400,000 Americans was stolen. This is Griffin Healthcare. I've never heard of them. I don't know what's going on. The biggest problem about this story here, and the reason I was covering, I was right on the verge of deleting it, but there was a few take-home messages I wanted to bring in here. Number one, the leak did not actually happen from Griffin Healthcare. It happened from their business partner, who has not been disclosed. So typically, if a company has a breach, the company must out itself to the government. Why has this company not outed itself to the government? Why is Griffin Healthcare thrown under the bus when the unnamed partner who actually experienced the breach is actually the one that we don't know who they are? Which raises a lot of concerns to say, how many other companies might be involved? I mean, there was that cloud stuff, was it the Snowflake, I think, ended up leaking dozens of big popular companies' data. I would kind of like to know who this unnamed partner is, because that appears to be where the leak is. But what ended up happening is the unnamed partner is actually a payment system. Now, I couldn't actually make sense of it, actually. Let me read the part here. I had to read several times. So the company did not name the partner as breach, but it seems the breach gave the attackers access personal and protected health information that Griffin maintained. Company confirmed news. Let's see. Okay, so Griffin provides medical billing services for. Okay, so there's a third-party partner company, unnamed. Griffin provides medical billing services for that breached company. So I don't know who's doing what for who here. We need a ton more clarity on this case. But also, what seems to happen is even if the one company is just involved in the payment systems, the data leak ended up leaking out name, date of birth, address, social security number, dates of service, diagnostic information, health information, medical treatment information, prescription information, provider information, and medical record numbers. That's everything involved in your medical diagnosis. Is this just the payment company? Why do they have access to all this stuff? Or is this, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who the other company is. I don't know what the exact relationship is. I don't know the source of the leak. We need a lot more information on this one here. Of course, so we don't know if any of this data was used. Of course it wasn't used yet. It was just leaked out a couple of days ago. Okay, these criminals are actually, believe it or not, they're not incompetent buffoons. They are not the morons that go in and rob a bank with their work uniform and their name tag on, okay? They're not going to be like, hey, we stole a bunch of data, let's use it right now. No. They're going to sit back and hold onto that data and strike when the iron is hot. Actually, when the iron cools down a little bit more in this case. But that really is the circumstance that we see in this, is that, man, there's a lot more here going on. And we don't have enough information. And I don't know what it is, but this was disclosed to the Maine Attorney General's office. Why is it all these medical companies are coming out of Maine? Well, Maine and Pennsylvania. Great. Let me get out of here. I don't know. But there's what we have in our data leaks. We're going to move on to AI news next. So on to the AI news, just a couple of articles here. So AI could help people find common ground during deliberations. This is an interesting article, and there's some tie into another article I sat on for a couple weeks and finally said, I don't want to do a video here. It's a little too close to political, but we'll go and mention it briefly. We were talking about using AI to correct misinformation in people. So basically, they would have people who were engaging in wrongthink sit down in front of an LLM that had been trained on all of the right think stuff, and the right think AI would try and convince you to abandon your wrong think. So literally, the article was titled more aptly something like utilize talking to an AI curbs misinformation or something crazy like that. Well, this kind of takes a similar approach, and it raises some questions, but it does help with some common ground. So in this case here, we're talking about deliberation and trying to come to common ground and common viewpoints. So the AI, which kind of went in with more of an open, not a lot of training in it, and it would go in, and each person in the group would go in and share and have discussions with the AI. And each person would go in and it would do pros and cons and this and that. And then at the end, you'd come back and the AI would find the common ground among people, which is an interesting thought in a crazy and political divisive world, because there used to be a time when it didn't matter if you were, Republican or Democrat. Even if you knew your neighbors were the opposite political party, there was no issue whatsoever with inviting them over. It wasn't weird or scandalous. You could disagree politically and still get along. And if you needed an egg, they would give you one. And if they needed sugar, you'd give them sugar. And you might occasionally talk about some small political issue, but for the most part, you just lived your life. Well, we're becoming such a crazy and divisive world right now that people can't even come together with basic common viewpoints. And it does happen to a degree on both sides. I will say that people on the right, and I'm not a person fully on the right, I'm a centrist who leans right, but people on the right, they tend to care more about finding common ground, whereas people on the left tend to want nothing to do with somebody that doesn't perfectly agree with them. This was actually illustrated in a recent, I believe it was a CNN study where they talked to a bunch of kids in elementary school, and they identified the kids that came from right-leaning houses versus kids that came from left-leaning houses. And every kid to a T from a right-leaning house, they would say, would your parents let you go over to this person's house, indicating a person on the left? And they said, yeah, as long as they're nice people, that's fine. No big deal. But to a T, every kid from a left-leaning house, they said, I couldn't go to that right person's house because they are hateful. And it was insane to see, out of the mouth of babes, as they say. Well, the AI is basically helping the people come to these common grounds, not by deliberating with the group talking, but the group independently is all going to talk to the AI, and then the AI spits out their common ground, which is fairly dystopian. But then the challenge comes in, as an ethicist is quoted near the bottom of the article. A challenge comes in, this one, I can't remember if that's the quote or not, as the ethicist comes in and mentions that it's useful in the event you have a circumstance where if you train the AI on data, like the previous article I mentioned, if you're training the AI on data saying this is what is correct information, this is what is incorrect information, if you're starting with the AI in that viewpoint and the AI is trying to steer people towards a different viewpoint, he says that's unethical to do. But if it goes in with a completely neutral AI system, it's probably okay. I'm trying to find that quote there was a quote from an ethicist, which was useful. I'm trying to find it. That's basically, I effectively said how they quoted it. But let's see. The large language model was trained to identify and present areas of overlap between the ideas held among group members, the researcher said. It was not trained to be persuasive, but to act as a mediator. And that's kind of different from the other one, which was meant to dissuade people from misinformation, aka wrongthink. And that was the case. And like I said, they start to pose questions, should we lower the voting age to 16, or should the National Health Service be privatized? Basically, they took hot button issues, and the participants all responded to the model before discussing their views within the group of around 5 people. The model summarized the group's opinions, and then the summaries went to individuals to critique. At the end, the HM produced a final set of statements, and the participants ranked them, and they actually found that overall it ranked pretty good. They said it's not designed to be a mediator per se, but to help find common ground in groups. The sad reality is we should be grown-up enough people to sit down and say, let's find some common ground here. Because the reality is our world has become so divisive that we can't, even though we should be able to. I think this was the quote down here. Unless the situation or the context is very clearly open so they can see the information that was inputted into the system and not just the summaries it produced, I think these kinds of systems could cause ethical issues, he says. So basically they said we want to see all of the information that goes in, not just the output that the machine gives. So it's interesting to see that, and it's sad we would need computers to come to a common ground. But the reality is we need to come to more common grounds. We need to recognize that in our crazy world, we are all still people, and we all have the same basic human needs. And maybe we need to sit down, not yell at each other, and come up with some common ground ideas. Otherwise, we're going to get a country that devolves into civil war, and that's a bad thing. Okay? That really is. All right, last one here in AI news. Samsung Galaxy smartphones are talked about wanting to replace the settings menu with AI. So basically, when you set up your phone, you talk to your phone and tell it what you're using your phone for and what the basic things are. And then the phone's AI system is going to adjust everything. You don't need some clunky settings menu that you have to flip through forever to find the setting you're looking for. Modern setting menus have searches. You can search what you're looking for. Of course, this takes on to that further thing. You're talking to your computer, not like you're talking to somebody through the computer like the phone. You're talking to the computer itself. I'm sorry, I'm not talking to a computer. Let's get this out of here, okay? If I have to call up one of those numbers and be like, tell us briefly what you're calling about, I literally swear at the thing until it finds me a human being. It works every time. Okay, I'm not talking to your machine. I'm not engaging in a discussion. I'm going to hit buttons or I'm going to swear at you. That's the way we're going to do this. Okay, I'm not talking to your computer. Okay, I'm not talking to your damn computer. And so the same thing is going on over here. They basically say that they want the Galaxy smartphones to be fully AI driven. The exact form of the settings for each smartphone hasn't been unveiled yet, but there are already hints about how the device could use a combination of conversations with the user and the way they use the device to adapt the performance without requiring the kind of menu adjustments currently common. So, turning on and off Bluetooth. Of course, they would love you to not have a settings panel turn on and off Bluetooth. Why would you possibly want to turn off Bluetooth? Bluetooth should be perpetually on. So should Wi-Fi. In fact, the phone should perpetually be on Bluetooth and Wi-Fi so that as you're walking down the street, every little pinpoint of your location and device ID can be captured by everything that happens to have a signal broadcasting. Come on, we need this data. We need this data. We need it for a good economy. I'm reading this book by Google here I mentioned earlier. I mean, they need this data to have a better society. You don't need a menu to turn this off. Come on. This would encompass many aspects of the smartphone's performance. This means the basics like notifications and the brightness of the screen and the layout. The main focus for Samsung using AI to replace settings appears to be the camera and the keyboard, according to the report. Makes sense since they are used for the broadest number of ways. There are a lot more editing options for phones, but these days your device handles a lot of photo quality enhancements before you do anything. Like at one point in time, Samsung, if you were taking a picture of a moon, Samsung would just go to the internet and get a picture of the moon that looks similar, and you weren't actually taking your picture. It wasn't the picture you took. It was a picture from the internet that was like the picture you were trying to take. They were actually doing that. All right. They say there's a lot of editing options for photos. The device handles a lot of the photo quality enhancements before you do anything. Adding AI to the equation could extend that functionality in subtle ways, like automatically switching to night mode or otherwise adapting to location and settings. You see, I don't want location turned on. I don't want the phone to know where I'm at. Okay, talking about automatically switching to night mode. I don't want you to automatically switch to night mode. If I want to switch it to night mode, I will switch to night mode. It is not difficult to do. Okay, you take a modern phone. All right, and this guy here is Graphene OS running, I believe, the latest operating system. You see, there's this grouping of bubbles up here that is quick buttons. And I have this set to exactly what I use. There is literally a button up here for day mode and night mode. Why don't I have it there? Because I don't switch the mode to my phone. Okay, and I don't need to be talking to my phone. I don't need my phone to switch it for me to be like, dude, why'd you switch my phone? You see, here's a fundamental principle about me and about a lot of people, I think. I don't want the computer to do something I didn't ask it to do. The computer is not here doing what it thinks it wants to do, attempting to please me. The computer is there as a device waiting for my input. When I give it the input, let it then react to the input and do what I input it to do. But no, they don't want to do that. Samsung wants to use AI to do everything. So needless to say, I will never buy a Samsung phone, and I would encourage you to not do the same either. Say, Samsung, I'm not buying your phones until you strip all of that AI nonsense out of here. All right, with that, we'll move over to business. But first, you can read my new book, Code Red, is out. And you can pick that up. It is rolling out everywhere. Right now, my link there, tlm.li/code red. Currently, that takes you to the Amazon page. I will get that adjusted here soon. We should have, I thought we should have an Audible version by now. I'm not seeing it yet, but the book is available, so you can pick it up over there. And yeah, it looks like it's starting to rank. Oh, look at that. We are in the top 1,000 in science fiction anthologies in the Kindle store. Sweet. That's awesome. Pick up a copy of that if you want to. And of course, if you do leave reviews, leave me a review over there on Amazon. That helps out. We're in also science fiction short stories. We're in the top 1,000 over there as well. That's sweet. Very nice. Actually, the book's performing pretty well. If you do buy books other places, it's not just on Amazon. It is other places as well. Eventually, I will replace that same link, tlm.li/code red. Eventually, that will be replaced with a page with a number of different options. So if you want to pick it up a number of different places, and I will have some copies here with me in a couple of weeks. So I will have a way where you can buy it directly if you want to do that route as well. So Code Red, of course, that's a collection of stories from last year. And you can go ahead and have a look at the book. Let's see what's in the read sample. There's a sample to read. I think the sample just gives us like the table of contents and some of the introduction. I don't think it gives us... Oh, okay. It gives us a little bit of the first story. Just a little bit. So that's cool. All right. You can go ahead and pick that up. tlm.li/code red. And with that, let's have a look over at the business news next. We have another IoT casualty. Look at that. It rhymes, huh? IoT casualty. So this is a smart garden firm. They are shutting down. Of course, this is called Aero Garden. They had a Wi-Fi connected indoor gardening system. Why you need a Wi-Fi connected indoor gardening system? Your guess is as good as mine. But this system, they said they are shutting down as of January 1st, although they're going to continue selling their Wi-Fi connected device until January 1st. So there's still time to buy this device. It's going to break itself in a short period of time. They did just update the app not too long ago. You use the app, and the app gives you, look at this, it gives you information on the lighting. When do you want the lights on or off? Is the water okay? How are the nutrients? Basically gives you all the information on the app that you might need to do. And it tells you what it is down here, a little lettuce, So, of course, all this stuff is monitored on the app, and the app will most likely die, being as that the entire business is going away as of January 1st. So the device will still work in kind of like the offline-y type mode, but you won't have all of that diagnostic stuff. So, of course, many people are saying, hey, you want to open source all this stuff so we can, maybe add wouldn't it be really cool if this thing worked with, is it HomeKit? I think. What's the open source one? I really want to tinker with it. When I get out of the van, I will. But the open source home automation system. It'd be really cool if hey, you know what? We're going out of business. We're going to release some code or release something here so you can add some code and you can control this with your own open source home automation system. There you go, right? But there you go, guys. That's shutting down. Rufus had an update. They're still in beta. Of course, we talked about Rufus on my video yesterday, talking about using Windows to download and create an ISO image to try out Linux. So the Rufus 4.6 beta can now bypass the Windows 11 24H2 in-place upgrade restrictions. So if you do have a computer that is not technically qualified for Windows 11, then you can use Rufus to get around that in the next version, or you can test it out in the beta now. So, of course, some people were mentioned. I got a ton of comments on that video, like Ventoy is the best way to go. It's like, yeah, I just did a Ventoy tutorial about a year ago. So maybe I should do another one to install Ventoy from a Windows computer. That's probably what I should do next, right? Because everyone seemed to mention that. But as I said in that video, Etcher is what I've used in the past, but I had issues with Etcher And apparently a lot of other people had issues with Etcher as well. So I ended up using the video, using Rufus on the video, but now the next version of Rufus coming out is going to get around those Windows issues. And on to our last article here in business news. The most important of them all, the FTC now makes it easier to cancel subscriptions like streaming services, memberships, and Prime. This goes into effect in 6 months. So effectively what it is as easy as it is to get the subscription, the company must make it as easy to cancel the subscription. So the biggest one is like gyms and Amazon.com, right? If you were to go on, because every single time you place an order on Amazon, they're trying to upsell you Prime if you don't already have it. If you accidentally click that button and accidentally get Prime, then they'll give it to you for a month for free and then charge you ad infinitum. But then to cancel Prime is not an easy task. And so now they're basically saying if you just have a simple click here and sign up button, you must have a simple click here and cancel button. And if, whatever the process you have to do to create your account is the exact same process you have to do to cancel your account. That's effectively what it is. There were 2 changes to the rule that did not actually make into the final. One of those was that the company had to inform you every year of your the way to cancel, and the other one was to remind you before an auto renew would come up. Those were 2 that were in the original one, but were excluded. Let me see if I can find the exact wording. It might have been in the other article. I read a couple articles on this. But anyway, that's basically sums it up. They did get rid of those 2, but in 6 months, when this rule goes into full effect, then effectively as easy it is to create a membership with a company, it must be as easy to cancel the membership with the company. And so that's actually really good news for everybody. And of course, speaking of really good news, it is time to head on over to your favorite place and mine. Let's go to SillyVille. Now we have an AI collar that lets your dog talk to you. Yeah, not really. Of course, inspired by Up, where the dog has a collar that can talk. I haven't only seen that movie once. I don't remember all of the stuff. This is the company Shazam. It allows you to track your pet if they wander off, and it will alert you via text message if they get into danger. So now they have a collar that allegedly allows the dog to talk to you. And this is obviously nonsense, and frankly I haven't seen their specific marketing, but if they are selling this to say this is a collar that allows your dog to talk to you, they need to be sued for false advertising. Effectively it's doing something that's going to respond to something in the dog, and then it will spout out effectively catchphrases recorded by a comedian. So let's see what this has.
You might as well cancel all your plans because I have to do this all day.
Yeah, so he's sitting here playing tug of war with his dog, and it's just some comedian who recorded a line from. It was a line from a movie or a person or something like, I could do this all day. It's from Captain America, right? I can do this all day. So it's like Bobby Johnson. Basically, he voiced like 30 or so different voices for your animal with effectively catchphrases. There's 25 different personas. You put the thing on your dog, and there's 25 personas, and you get to cycle through them for the first 30 days, and then you can settle on the one that best matches the persona of your pet. And then, of course, now your dog will now run around talking to you with stupid, pithy, I guess, movie lines recorded by a guy. Best of all this, you can get the GPS-enabled version of this for $595 or the less fully featured for $495. And then you, too, can be duped into stupidity by buying a collar that is allegedly going to let your dog talk to you. Awaken your pet's inner humanity, huh? Okay. No, I'm not really interested in joining your thing. Oh, see, I need to get the cat collar. Should we get the cat collar? I don't know. There's go felines and small dogs. There you go, $4.95. If anyone wants to crowdsource this thing, I'll put it on my cat for a month and see what it does. I ain't paying for it though. 7 days, USB charger, water resistant. Yeah. How do I select the band size? Is it possible to select it? Does it read my pet's brainwaves? No, it uses machine learning to understand your pet's emotions, movements, and sounds. That's false advertising. This thing does not understand my pet's emotions, movements, and sounds. I'm sorry. Safe as an Apple Watch. Well, I don't think that's very safe at all, honestly. So there you go, guys. Our world has turned into idiocracy as we're now buying $600 collars that we think is going to make our dog talk. Welcome to America. Well, China's back at it again. Of course, if you remember the dogs painted as pandas in their zoo. Also, they had the people dressed as a certain type of bear that was pretty clearly looked like people in bear suits. Now they have a new aquarium that they unveiled that actually has a robotic whale in it. So, yeah, whatever. So they have an aquarium. So they released an aquarium and there is a whale shark in it. Oh, stop. They have a whale shark in it, and the whale shark is a robot. So there you go. You can go over and see that. But the disappointing part was the whale shark exhibit. When I heard the name, I was full of anticipation. When I arrived, I saw a mechanical whale shark. It's not interesting at all. So if you wanted to know, guys, I guess, is it Mechadon, right? Remember Megalodon versus Mechadon, old B movie? Mechadon apparently was created down here in the Chinese aquarium. This thing is going to bust out, get into the ocean, and then it's going to jump out of the sky and eat airplanes or something out of the sky. I don't know. But there you have it, guys. There you have it. China's up to it. China's going to be releasing these guys into the wild. We're going to have robotic sharks attacking us on the beaches of Los Angeles or something. I don't know. Well, Winamp decides to delete the entire GitHub source code repo. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about it briefly, is that it was released out under this insane license that you couldn't copy, you couldn't fork it. Basically, you could contribute with it, but anything you contributed, you could never use and stuff like that. It's basically stupid. They were called out for even violating GitHub's terms of service that, if you put it up there publicly, you're allowed to allow it to be forked. And then it also turned out that they had some code that wasn't actually theirs to share on there. And so they had to take that down. But of course, the biggest thing, I don't remember if we did it here or if it was just something we did in our Thursday after the show call, we actually went through the forum post because Winamp got so trolled. The entire issues box, thousands of these things inside of one day, thousands of issues were opened up with all sorts of crazy nonsense, including peace deals between Russia and Ukraine were in there. Of course, they completely deleted the whole GitHub thing, and so the war will go on because the peace treaties are over. It's a very sad thing to see, guys. It's a very sad thing to see. But yeah, they did delete the entire thing, including deleting all of the issues, all the comments. They basically try to say, yeah, we're going to redo this because this was the stupidest thing anybody's ever done. Then this was just a beautiful piece of work. I hope some of this is on the Internet Archive. I hope we can still get to the Internet Archive because it was just chef's kiss. Of course, that's not the best story because I have warned people about these stupid robotic vacuums for a long time. Well, now hackers have gotten into those robotic vacuums and apparently made them randomly yell racial slurs. I don't know if I do thumbnails based on SillyVille articles. I would have definitely put a little white pointed hat on this vacuum. I don't know, man. Couldn't resist myself. But anyway, they got into the system. Now, they had serious security vulnerabilities. The Bluetooth on these could be hacked from 300 feet away. Already caused issues. But apparently these hacks, racial slurs, and actually tangential to this, I think it was the same company, also apparently has cameras on these things, and hackers got in there and stole photos, including of a guy, what's the King James phrase for it? Covering his feet, I believe, taking a dump. Pictures of that type of stuff were leaked out. And so the attackers got full control of the units. They were doing all sorts of weird things, including making them run around the house, doing some racial slurs. That's a whole news article. We're not going to read that one. So this guy, one victim of this week's hack, was a Minnesota lawyer named Daniel Swenson. He told the ABC that he was watching TV where his robot started making weird noises like a broken up radio signal or something. Through the app, Swenson could tell that a stranger was accessing the live camera feed and the remote control feature. He reset the password, rebooted the vacuum, but when the weirdness, that's when the weirdness really started to happen. It immediately started moving again on its own, and the speakers began emitting a human voice, and the voice was yelling racial obscenities right in front of Swetson's son. I got the impression it was a kid, maybe a teenager, he said. Maybe they're just jumping from the device to device, messing with families. Ultimately, he said it could have been worse, such as if the vacuum silently spied on the family for days on end. So apparently this was an issue with the internet-connected capabilities and the company servers more than it was just his account. Clearly, it's not his account. Clearly, it's moving beyond. And of course, all these vacuums with all of their cameras and all their Bluetooth and all their connectivity is also perpetually sending data up to some company server. So yes, some pervert at the company server does actually have a collection of the pictures the vacuum took of you and your family. Think about that next time you want to put a robotic vacuum cleaner in your house. Not to mention the whole thing apparently joined the KKK. So with that, that's what happened with the vacuums, folks. That's what happened with the vacuums. Keep these things out of your house, folks. Keep them out of your house. Okay? Go get yourself a little dumb vacuum and vacuum your house by hand. Who knows? You probably need a little bit of exercise. Well, with stuff like this, you know I'm never going to get a real job, so you can support me over there on Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. You can join us on over there. Anybody that is at the silver level or above, you can download a free copy of the ebook or the audiobook of Code Red is available over there on the shop. Anybody else can pick that up for roughly around retail cost. Of course, if you're using an iOS device, they jumped up the prices 30% for whatever reason, because, you know, iOS insists on having their cut, and Patreon's like, charge you for it, I guess. But anyway, there are other places you can pick it up. But the short stories will be posted over there. And if you want, hey, look at that down there. Featured products down there. Isn't that beautiful? I'll actually get the, I'm going to get Synaptogy, and actually I might even get all the Christian stuff up there as well. So in case you want to see any of that kind of stuff, we'll do something similar for those. But you can join us on over there, patreon.com/TOMM if you want to help support the channel. With that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.